What is going on? Welcome back to the channel. So today we're going to talk to you about Virgin Galactic. I want to go over some of the data points, what's really moving it, and go over everything else you need to know. But first, make sure to hit that thumbs up. And with that, let's get right to it. So on Friday, it went up a very impressive 5.94%, 407 the low, 442 the high, and 7.1 million shares being traded, 3.5 is the average. So there hasn't really been that much news lately associated to Virgin, as you can kind of see right here. Last news did come out August the 14th. In my last video, I did put out, I think it was roughly around September the 13th, on which I did say that it is inches away from just kind of moving higher. And since then, it's gone up quite considerably, in fact. Nothing again because of the company itself, rather just piggybacking off of the broader market. But honestly, I don't think anyone would really care all that much. So over the last 1 month, it is up 36.96%. Then over the last 5 days alone, up 25.88%. And so again, I think it is piggybacking off of the broader market's optimism. It's starting to eye potentially another 25 basis point cut for the upcoming October 29th meeting. And then dependent on some data from now up until probably a week prior, you could start to see some likelihood of a 50 basis point cut, because earlier this week we did have ADP data was horrific, and that in among itself did start to kind of have the market assume a 50 possibly might be coming down the pipeline. So that would be a pretty big deal for Virgin. Aside from that, there really hasn't been all that much in news. Last thing that did come out was right here, just talking about Purdue 1, and so that's going to be 2027. I think Virgin's really good at getting its name out there and various things like that, but nothing crazy specific. So first half of 2026 is going to be a lot more updates and specific to Virgin. Until then, it's just going to be piggybacking off the broader market. At the same time, shorts might be forecasting that Virgin is due to really move higher, and so they have been returning. So surprisingly, even over the last year, it did peak in about February when short interest was 37.43. My last video, it was at like 19, and I said that they have been returning a significant amount, which has been adding a certain level of buying pressure, because of course, in case you don't know, shorts returning shares, that does mean that they are adding buying pressure. DTC 2.87 days, so that does factor in Virgin's average volume in comparison to number of shares being shorted, which right now is 9.88 million, which works out to be 17.21% of the free float. So at the end of the day, shorts are still overextended. So potentially, if we start to see a nice rotation happening because of, let's say, specific to Virgin optimism or just more rate cuts, then that is where shorts might be in a little bit of a sticky scenario. Aside from that though, on Friday, shorts did return about 260,000 shares. Short score is a 77.85. So you could potentially see a squeeze with this stock, but I think in general, a lot of people just throw out the word squeeze and that's it. I think in general, you do need a actual good, credible catalyst to move the stock. That's it. Like it piggybacking off of the broader market will have a nice slow and steady kind of move higher, which Virgin has been kind of going through. But if you want to see one of those crazy bursts higher that Virgin's done in the past, you need a surprise catalyst. Looking at the options. So for instance, on Friday, 1.67 million in calls, 429,000 in puts, and then 48% of all the options being done were bearish in nature. Most of that actually was in the last roughly about 2 hours of the trading day, which was rather odd. Aside from that, going into this upcoming week, bulls feel that roughly around 450 to 5 is on the table. Bears are anticipating for it to be sub 350 to 4. So you're going to see a lot of volatility. So if you haven't taken the time to research options yet, do it, because you can make a lot of money. And even based on my last video, like I said, September the 13th, I said, if you actually do believe Virgin is going to move higher, which based on the data, it showed that it was going to, you can make a lot of money from call options. And for instance, if you bought a call option, a $4 call option when it was at 313, you'd be up a solid probably about 2x at least, if not more. So again, you can make a huge amount of money through options. So definitely take the time to research that. Aside from all that, there hasn't really been that much in crazy transactions on the secondary market. And dark pool, there was only one. It was for 160,000. So big money still not really looking at Virgin as much as it really should, but there hasn't really been at the same time any new analyst ratings. So last one did come out, I think it was like last month, $2 sell rating. Bernstein Douglas has a 58% success rating. All of those are because of the recent earnings. Right now with that 428 though, it is closing below this R2. So going into next week, 431 is going to be that key pivot. So best case scenario, it does close above that and then continues to move higher. 405 is going to be a strong support, and then 473 is going to be the next strong target / resistance point. And so one thing has happened lately, and which hasn't happened since 2023, and that is Virgin getting above the 200-day moving average. So looking right over here, recently did have a little bit of a burst on the 23rd and 24th associated to the news from Purdue 1, but it did consolidate a little bit. Now it did try again, and this actually did close 2 consecutive days above that 200-day moving average. And looking back, we kind of have it bounced off of there, had a quick burst higher, but ultimately didn't close above it. So this is the first time it actually did close above the 200-day moving average since all the way back here, which was kind of short-lived for the most part, but June 2023. So this is going very much old school. So potentially you might see some very good momentum. And comparing this to way back in June, like I kind of showed you, you had that quick spike and then it just diminished out. This is a slow, steady approach. And as I even have mentioned in the past, I would much rather have this than this spike any day, only because this actually has very good support levels. Because as you can kind of see from this right here, you see some buying, some selling from this right here, the market position. For instance, on Friday, you see a lot of willing buyers, not that much in willing sellers. Honestly, the sellers have just been diminishing more and more. So at the end of the day, you could see a very nice push higher if there is a nice continued level of momentum in the broader market. So at the end of the day, I do feel that big things will be coming. You need to add Virgin to your watch list and take the time and the weekend to research options, because if you do believe that Virgin in theory can get to, let's say, that $5-6 range, you can make some very good money based on all that. So let me know your general thoughts on Virgin. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up and subscribe. Where do you realistically see things going? Do you see it consolidating to, let's say, that $4 range, or do you think it's just going to burst on higher? So what's your kind of 2 cents on all that? One final thing, pop over to my Patreon if you're looking for some solid buy signals on stocks, options, crypto. I put out daily day trades, numerous swing trades, worthwhile to pop over there and take a look. With all that said, appreciate all of you watching.